So can you tell me a little bit about your experience as an electric vehicle owner?
So far, it's been a great experience. I mean, we've owned one since we came to the auto show. He sat in one, my husband sat in one, test drove, and fell in love with it. So that's when he decided. He didn't even think he was interested in getting a Volt until he came to the auto show.
Wow, that's fantastic. So what other things have surprised you about being an electric vehicle owner?
How inexpensive it is to own and how great the incentives were, and how it drives just like a regular vehicle and has some pretty good get up and go.
And where do you charge your electric vehicle?
The Volt is always in the garage at night unless we're on vacation, and so it's charged through a 220 added on to our electric box, and so it can charge a little bit faster at home instead of on the 110.
Have you used other charging areas besides your residence?
I've used any charging station that I could find. If there was one and we were out at the mall, where my husband works at SMUD, he uses the charging station there. Really, they're everywhere. So then I have PlugShare on my phone, so I can just look and see where, that works out really great. So,
what was your experience with that?
Actually, I've added a few to PlugShare that weren't even on there. So I have found some that were kind of out in, hidden areas, like in UC Merced. There's just a 120 there. So they've all been working. Every one that I found has worked.
And do you own another vehicle as well?
Oh yes, we have always owned something. We have a little 1995 Corolla wagon, which is my daily driver right now. I am still shopping for the perfect EV.
Oh, okay.
So even though my husband owns a Volt, and I was a Volt owner for a short time, the reason I did resell my Volt was I wanted something a little more ergonomic. The Volt is a very sporty car, and there are so many more others that drive just like sedans with all the comfort features, and that's what I'm looking for now. Okay. I want all the bells and whistles on a car.
What kind of information would you need to know?
Doing a lot of test drives on them, sitting in them, driving in them, doing research, knowing, because my health had changed a little bit from the time I bought my Volt to now. So that's part of the reason I had to sell the Volt. So the very, very good lumbar support, automatic seats, these type of small things that you think wouldn't matter, but as EVs were coming up, all those little bells and whistles weren't on there, but now they are. So I have a great selection now. And
would you recommend the electric vehicle to your friends?
Absolutely. I would recommend one to anybody I know if they wanted to. If they weren't afraid of the range, they would have to do their research, definitely.
Have you found you're driving your electric vehicle more or less than you expected?
We are driving it way more. I mean, it was the go-to. When I had mine, it was my go-to vehicle. Wayne, it's the only car he drives. He refuses to drive any other car. So,
thank you so much for stopping in and speaking with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's so great to see you here.
Hey, it's a thrill being here.
So can you tell me a little bit about your experience as an electric vehicle owner?
Well, we bought a Nissan Leaf back in 2011, so we have already 45,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And it's basically a round town car. We had a Ford Taurus that we used to drive to LA, and so this Nissan Leaf was our second round town car, and it's our preferred car for driving. It does cause family problems though.
Oh really? Why is that?
Oh, well, every morning we get up and my wife, my daughter, and I have a debate as to who gets to drive the Leaf. And my daughter points out that she's going to be driving it the furthest, but she's driving the furthest for the day, so by all economic sense, it should be her. Now, I got to tell you that really pisses me off. I didn't buy this terrific car, and which is a delight to drive, just to let my daughter have it every day. So we've got discord in the family. We're still working it out.
Nice. So what else surprised you about owning an electric vehicle?
Well, I knew to expect lower costs in terms of my gas bill just plummeted.
Wow.
And that was real clear and expected. But what I didn't understand or didn't know in advance was that they are fun to drive.
Nice.
They're fun to drive because I've got the batteries that are underneath the passenger compartment are so low that they make it a low center of gravity. So I go into turns faster than my wife would like. It's got this electric motor, it's got this instant torque, so I can jump out of those turns at full torque and pop out of them. And it's just smooth, quiet so you can talk when you're driving. But it's just it's just such a pleasure driving. Hard to ever think about going back to gas cars.
Wow.
Hence the argument with my daughter.
Nice.
So.
That's fantastic. And where do you most often charge your electric vehicle?
At home. I mean, the electricity is so cheap. PG&E, with their special night rate, it's about 10 cents. 10 cents a kilowatt is about equivalent to $1 a gallon gas.
Fantastic.
SMUD which is great, has done a lot of great things in Sacramento County. They're about 60 cents a gallon equivalent of gas for their nighttime rate.
So did you install a new 220V plug at home for the car, or just use the standard 110V outlet?
Well, I did just the 110 just to start with it, but I found that I'd like to come back lots of times and recharge and go back out. So the 110 would give me like 60 miles of range on an overnight charge while I'm sleeping.
Okay.
And that's what I did most of the time, but often I'd come back and then I'd want to go back out again. So I didn't install it. We called an electrician and asked if they could come down, and the panel where they had to install it was right next to where I wanted to charge, so it was fairly inexpensive.
Oh, fantastic. And what's your experience been like in recharging at public spaces or a parking lot?
Two things. One, it's really handy to be able to pull right up and plug right into the car. But there's starting to be a little bit of congestion. Darn it, there's just too many people that are starting to find the advantages in this. And so sometimes we're competing for that space, but I hear they're trying to increase the number of chargers out there.
Did you also own a conventional vehicle, or what other vehicles do you own?
When we bought the Leaf, and that was 2011, we had the Ford Taurus, so that was our long distance car, and that combination worked really well for our family. But after a while, I have to say that the Taurus, too old, it had a traumatic failure in there, so we had to replace the Taurus, and I couldn't go back to buying a gas car after the electric experience with the Leaf, so we bought the lease, actually, the Chevy Volt.
Oh, wow.
So that gives us like 40 miles every morning we wake up, but if we want to keep going to LA,
yes.
Switches over to a gas motor to provide that electricity. We just keep on going.
And where did you purchase your electric vehicle? Was it through a dealership?
Both of the vehicles we purchased through the Roseville Auto Mall, through the dealerships there, the Nissan dealership and the Chevy dealership.
Have you found you're driving your electric vehicle more or less than you expected when you first purchased it?
It's more, unfortunately. And in fact, when I mentioned the Volt,
yes.
We said, well, we're going to keep driving most of the Leaf, and so we'll lease the Volt and just do 30,000 miles on it. Well, after 2 years, we're already at 30,000 miles, and now I got to figure that out. So we're definitely putting more miles on it than we expected. But it's just that they're so easy to think about it. You just jump in them and you go.
Oh, well, thank you so much for stopping and talking to me today. It's great to see you. Bye.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So you're an electric vehicle owner. Tell me about your experience as an electric vehicle owner.
It's been fantastic, really better than I could have hoped for.
What else has surprised you about owning an electric vehicle?
I'd say the level of comfort that I had almost immediately driving. There's always that sort of anxiety about, well, any new car, honestly, but having one that only can go 100 miles.
Right.
So knowing that was there brought me a little bit of apprehension, but instantly got comfortable with it when I started driving. Love the car, wish it could go forever, wish I could drive it all the time.
Wow. And where do you most often charge your vehicle?
Basically 99.9% at home.
Okay. When you do charge it out and about, how's your experience been with the charging stations in public areas?
You know what? I've not even used them. I've not had to. I have a 100-mile range on my vehicle, and our commute on a daily basis is at least 65 miles. We don't have a problem during the day, and then weekends I don't travel as much, so I've actually never need to use them.
And so tell me about the incentives that you use. What was your experience with the incentive process?
We lease the vehicle that we have. So the $7,500 federal tax incentive was integrated into the lease price. Definitely took advantage of the $2,500 from the state because we're all electric. And then at the time, also took part in a program that was doing free EVSCs at home.
Wow. And do you own a conventional vehicle as well? Which electric vehicle do you own?
we have a Toyota RAV4 EV, and then our other vehicle is a BMW I-Series sedan.
And would you recommend an electric vehicle to a friend or somebody like me who's just starting to learn about it?
I would say everybody should get one. I mean, honestly, you can't beat it when you do the price comparison for fuel. I went from $250 a month on gas to $50 a month for electricity, and not changing my driving habits at all.
Fantastic.
Drive that car as much as I can. Love the car. It's comfortable. It's safe.
Wow.
I highly recommend it.
And where did you purchase your electric vehicle? At a dealership?
A dealership, and probably like most, I don't know if I'm really still considered an early adopter or not, but I've seen a lot of people who do all their research and they talk to their friends, so they basically go to the dealership and say, this is the one I want, not I happen to be at the dealership looking for a car and I happen to drive home an EV. So, you know, I definitely knew which one I wanted. The price point was there. There was, you know, like always, there's lease specials going on. So everything was just a phone call and like, hey, when's it going to be there? I'll be there on Tuesday. Perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was easy.
And you mentioned your electric bills earlier. What was the change that you experienced when you owned an electric vehicle?
So we are spending between probably $40 and $50 a month more for electricity. I'm a SMUD customer, so I'm on one of the special SMUD rates. I charge during the off-peak hours, so I charge after midnight, and you can get as low as 6 cents per kilowatt hour with SMUD on these special EV rates. So it's like paying 60 cents per gallon of gas. It's fabulous. Yeah.
And so last question about your driving habits. Did you find that you were driving your electric vehicle more or less than you expected?
Much more. I mean, the real true telling factor for me was when my husband had to go run an errand on the weekend and he grabbed the keys to the EV and not the keys to his car, because he has never done that before. The EV is my car and the other car is his car, and he always was his car. He likes the performance, the handling, da 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 da, and my car was just the commute car. And now he picks the EV. If I'm not working that day, he wants to take the EV. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for stopping and chatting with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Hi, Yeshua. Nice to see you today. Thanks for chatting with me about electric vehicles. So you yourself are an electric vehicle owner. Can you tell me about your experience?
I am a convert.
Wow.
I'm very satisfied. I didn't expect that when I moved over from a Prius to Prius plug-in of how excited I'd become about electric vehicles, and I quickly went out and got a Leaf shortly after.
That's fantastic. And what has surprised you most about the electric vehicles?
The difference in fuel, I know it sounds quite cliche, but it's just what a dramatic difference it is from the current system to this new emerging system in fuel, that you're fueling from oil-based to now I fuel from the sun, from renewable energy.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's just SMUD offers their green energy program, so I pay $6 a month, and I don't just plug into electrical grid, but now it's a renewable electric grid. And to me, that's, as a sustainability advocate, that's quite something I'm proud of.
Yes. So where do you most frequently charge your electric vehicle?
I just came from SMUD's fast charger
Wow.
20 minutes ago.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And what has your experience been using those charge stations?
Needs lots of work. It is, and I'm fully devoted to that now. That's a big mission of mine now, is to building that. Think of it that we didn't have anything not that long ago, and now we've built a lot. So there's many that are out there. There's hundreds of stations, but there's many more locations that we go to throughout the day that aren't those locations. There's tens, hundreds of thousands of potential places that we go to, let alone those few hundred that are scattered throughout. So if you go to any of those places that aren't there, then you still need to charge your car. And so ideally, every time you go to a Starbucks, every time you go out to a meeting somewhere, when you go to someone's business, you can always plug it in. And I believe there will be a future when we can do that. And it's just like in Europe, for instance, they have outlets at almost every parking spot, because they need to heat their vehicles. So it's just part of the culture that they know you don't want your engine to freeze, so you plug it in, and then it turns on a little heater in the car. So their infrastructure was built so it could work. Even 110 is fine, and there's no way that we could do the same thing here. It's completely possible.
Do you own a conventional vehicle as well? Which vehicles do you own?
I own 2 electric vehicles. One is a hybrid. It's called a Prius plug-in, 2014. So that was the vehicle that kind of introduced me to electric vehicles. It was just the upgrade from the one Prius to the next Prius, and then that only goes 10 miles on a charge. And it's tough to even call it an electric vehicle. It depends on how much you drive. Most of us drive more than 10 miles on a distance, and so that introduced me to my Leaf, which I do drive, and that's all I have at home.
What would you tell somebody like me who's interested in an electric vehicle? Would you refer them to a friend?
I recommend every citizen to get an electric vehicle, and I'm committed to making that happen.
Wonderful, thank you. And so last question, have you found you're driving your electric vehicle more or less than you expected?
I'd say more. More than I realized. Now, it's almost a challenge that I want to drive as many electric miles as possible.
Fantastic.
No, it sounds silly, but I know VMT is a concern that electric vehicles could just be a replacement of the current gridlock that we have.
Right.
So that's part of the concern. And so I don't think because people have electric vehicles, they're going to drive more. Most people will dramatically drive less.
Wow.
Because due to range anxiety, that's still there. Even though we have fast chargers coming online, it's still, well, I don't know if I can go charge it, at every single mile down the road that, my charging is at home or at work or down the street. It's a very different experience, and so it challenges people to really consider, do I really need to go there extra mile?
Yes.
No, I will go get the ice cream tomorrow when I'm going shopping, not tonight, for instance. So I think it will reduce VMT.
Thank you for taking time to chat with me today.